I tell you what, once you realize the understandings of identity in our scriptures, you really start noticing a lot of things, that you wouldn't notice otherwise. And I don't watch cartoons, including this one. I'm a grown man, therefore, I put away childish things as an adolescent. But as I was out and about in public one day, I happened to see a few moments of this particular cartoon, happens to be very popular, on a television that was in my presence. And as I glimpsed over, I saw this particular character, who is the superhero of the show, do a transformation into his level up mode, his superpower mode. And this is created by other folks who are not a part of our identity. And you would think that all their superheroes would be based on their own kind, and that they would follow their own traditions and their own kind and their own everything with their superheroes and all that. But when this character, the most popular character I would probably assume in all of fandom of anime, when this character becomes his super powerful character called going Super Saiyan, as they say it in their cartoon, he becomes a blonde haired, blue eyed white guy. I mean, come on now. Is that not the funniest thing? I'm sure plenty of you have viewed this who might be younger than me and may know all about this cartoon from when you were still cucked. And you probably never even paid attention to this particular thing. Maybe you noticed, maybe some folks noticed, but I'm sure a lot of people, it might have just skimmed right over their head. And being a person looking from the outside in with the understandings of our identity, it's just a funny thing I couldn't help but notice. I'm like, wow, check this out. But it led me to looking into a few other things. And one of the things I bumped into was Sailor Moon. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this today. I'll do another video after I research this character more. But just as I breezed through the whole thing about Sailor Moon and the concept of it and everything, first I want to point out she's blonde hair, blue-eyed white girl. Again. And but in this case, there's a lot more darkness involved in this. Now, I will say real quick, let me just digress back to this other cartoon I was mentioning before. Dragon, we know the dragon in scriptures means Satan. And Baal, you got your Baal worship, Baal worship. That's where we get sports ball worship, people who are worshiping Nogs. I've already explained in other videos. That's sports is just Nog worship these days, and it's also Baal worship, and I could go even deeper into that, but I won't because I want to stick with this topic. But yeah. So, and another thing about this cartoon real quick is that they're trying to discover all of these dragon balls, Satan's balls. Of course, they always have to have some kind of sexual gag involved in all their public stuff. And they do that with politicians' names and famous people and all these different things. They always have their sex joke or their butt joke or their balls or their penis joke or whatever. They always get some kind of sexual joke thrown in with it all. So here we have these characters going around trying to gather up all of Satan's balls, because once they gather all of Satan's balls, well then, and of course that's what the Z is for. They say Z means the last of the series, but you just read it as it's read, Dragon Balls, you know what I mean? You don't have to say Dragon Ball Z. When you have realize, you can see that it just says Dragon Balls. And so when you go around and collect all these Dragon Balls, you can awaken the dragon, Satan. And he's a wish-granting dragon. That's what Satan does. He grants lost souls certain insignificant wishes, and that motivates them to stay following in his path, whether it be through money or he gives them some kind of worldly above their friends or their peer circle or whatever that makes them feel bolstered above the average populace. Whatever the thing is that Satan gives them, it is a wish granted, if you will. And that's what the concept of this cartoon, as I've read about briefly, basically that is the theme of it. But getting back to Sailor Moon, let me just show you a little bit of what I observed right away, just on immediate observation. You have, of course, the pentagram, which is it's a symbol of hers. Like if you bought a bumper sticker with this third symbol here, this pentagram, and of course it has the Islamic crescent moon on it, facing upward the same way that you see in Islam and a lot of Islamic things, and of course in Freemasonry. If you look at the fez cap that Shriners wear, they will also have, not only will they have Islamic names on the fez cap, but they will have this facing upright crescent moon logo. And so we have the pentagram, we have the crescent moon logo. Now, of course, it's Sailor Moon, so they have a perfect excuse for using the crescent moon regularly. Other quick observations I've made of her is that she likes to throw the devil horns repeatedly. She'll either do the peace symbol, which of course is also devil horns, or she'll do the traditional devil horns as she's doing here. Notice that her hair forms the image of a serpent facing you, and the two things up at the top that you would think are maybe like eyes that are red, that wouldn't really be part of what a snake looks like, a serpent looks like, because their eyes don't really protrude way up like that, like a frog. So those are more like actual devil horns on her head. But if you look at just the hair around the top of her skull there, it gives off the image of a serpent looking directly at you. And then the two bangs coming down on the sideburn hairs, I guess you could say, almost give off an image of fangs coming off of the serpent's mouth. But maybe I'm looking into that imagery a little too deep, but it certainly gives off an immediate observation of that, if you will, for lack of a better word there. Another thing I noticed as I was scrolling along in these pictures, and I couldn't wait to show you this one. Check this out. Now I clicked on it, and it makes all this, it does a little GIF of it, but let me just zoom in on the picture instead of clicking on it. It moved it on me. Here we go. Check out the middle of this compact, this makeup compact. Now, before you see the symbol, earlier I showed you the symbol of the pentagram and the crescent moon, but what do you see here in the very middle here? I'm not sure if you can see it well enough, but I'm sure that most of you who view my channel already immediately see what I'm talking about. And of course, there's a little six-pointed star shape in the middle of that. And how perfect of sense that makes when you see all the other symbology involved in this cartoon. And I made a couple other observations of it, but I didn't want to go too deep into this. I'll look into this a little deeper at some point when I have more time. These are all just quick observations I made when I was looking up the whole thing about the other cartoon. And the only other thing I wanted to point out here real quick is that most of Japan is still very much into white culture. I've already shown you a couple of examples there based on their cartoons, but let me show you their 20 most popular superheroes. You'll notice they're not real keen on showing their own selves. They always mask themselves, or they're superheroes, I should say. But remember, superheroes of a people typically you would think would be people of their own kind represented. I know that when white folks create superhero fictional characters, we create them after ourselves. And so they look like us, they're white, and they have white characteristics and attributes. But here we see that all their superheroes mostly are masked individuals, and then when they do show an unmasked one, of course, that is a white lady, but they show themselves when they're not masked as the superheroes. They're superheroes. When they show them not masked, they show them as white people, particularly blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people. Funny enough, and here's a masked one of theirs, and you can see his identity peeking through on that one. And see, that would be what you would expect. You would expect all of their superheroes to be their own kind. But like even one here that has black hair and black eyes, look how large the eyes are. All right, that's to make it look like not their identity, but like our identity. And here we have another masked individual, but of course you can see those blue eyes blasting through that mask there. And, they know darn good and well they don't have blue eyes and all those things. And that, if there is one random mongrel in Japan that happens to have blue eyes, it's only because of an episode of an abomination between two individuals long ago. But yeah, here we go back to, and this superhero here is of course masked. This superhero masked. Another superhero, and what is she? If this girl walked up to you in public, would you think she's an Asian? These giant round eyes like white folks have, and bright red hair like white folks have? Probably not. And another masked one. And here we have one where they actually use their own folks as their own theme and the whole thing. So kudos to them on this character. And here we are, another one. And this one, of course they give him an Asian name, but look at the characters. Where do you see an Asian? There isn't one. You got a red-headed white guy and a blonde-haired white girl. So, and I'm not necessarily upset with them imitating our culture and our image. Here's one that sort of resembles an Asian, doesn't it? Pretty close. The reason I'm not terribly troubled by these folks imitating us is because they do it in their own country. They don't come here and fly their jet, and finally get a vehicle if they never could have had one in their country, which isn't the case in Japan. But let's just say it was, like in many, let's say, Central American countries and South American countries. They don't come over here and finally get a vehicle and start living like white people live over here in white country, and then fly their Japanese flag, hang it from their mirror of their car and all these things like other groups do that you see every day regularly around you, I'm sure, from the Central America and islands. Here's another masked character. And that's why I'm not so bothered by the fact that these folks imitate us so often in their superheroes and in their folklore and all these things. But look here, we'll scroll on down. Now this is a website all about for these people, by these people. And look at here, Think she was born like that? Of course not. So, and here we go again. Look at here. Oh man, doing the Sailor Moon hand gestures, the peace sign and the traditional devil horns, both devil horns. Probably doing it because of Sailor Moon. But yeah, look at the imitation there, And so they know darn good and well they aren't born with blonde hair, and they know darn good and well they don't have blue eyes or any of these things, but they desire to be like us. And since they keep it in their own country, among their own, I say, God bless them. Let them have fun with it. They're not bothering anyone doing it. They're not over here imposing it on us. They're just having fun, desiring to be, living in a fantasy, where they desire to be another identity, and so they fantasize about it through their cartoons, their anime, whatnot. And so, since they don't impose it on us, they don't try to impose themselves into our world and demand that they are just like us and all these things like all the others do. I have zero issue with these folks. And in this case, I would consider imitation a high form of flattery. Because if I would prefer anyone on earth imitating us, it would be the Japanese. That's not to say that I think very highly of Japanese, but I have a hilarious thing to show you here. Talk about cultural appropriation. Check this out, man. Wow. I couldn't wait to show you this. So, yeah. I'm not even going to bother saying anything. I'm just going to let you have a look. I'll stop and let you pause and read all of this. And when you're done, I want you to notice at the top, though, notice the name of the website and notice the picture, the logo next to the name of the website. And notice the color of the logo of the character. Or notice the color of the character that is the logo next to the name of the website. As we get to the bottom, you'll see why I want you to pay particular attention to that. But I'm going to just keep stopping and let you pause and read if you're interested. Oh, man. So, we was animators now, I suppose, is they're going to be their new thing. They're finally starting it up. And feel bad for the Asians on this one, boy. If the others get involved with it and start trying to imitate them with it. But, here we go. Oh, man. Yeah. So, and they don't understand cosplay, so they dressed up like this and took photographs of themselves, and they called it cosplay. But from what I've read about cosplay, it's deeper than just getting dressed and taking a picture of yourself. It's a little more involved than that. Not much more involved, but a little bit more. Let me scroll back up because I must have skimmed right past what I wanted to show you. No, I didn't. So we got to keep scrolling here, get past a few of these little ads, I guess. And we'll finally, here we go. So the Mary Sue that you saw on the website and the logo you see, the color of the character of the logo you see. Now check out, check out who wrote this article. Oh man, Brianna, she calls herself. Not sure what her actual African name would be in African, but she decides to use a white person's name like most of them do nowadays to steal our identity best they can. But yeah, Brianna, everyone, that's the one who wrote this article about these amazing anime cosplayers, Woo, man, okay. So I think that's enough for this one. I'll have another one coming real quick for you, and it's a totally different thing, and I hope you look forward to it. So God bless. Talk to you soon.